In the early 2000s, Microsoft stood at the pinnacle of its dominance in the tech world. Windows XP had just been released to widespread acclaim, and the company was riding high on its success. But beneath the surface, a storm was brewing. A storm that would expose the cracks in Microsoft's organizational structure and serve as a cautionary tale for companies everywhere. The project was codenamed Longhorn, and it was meant to be the next revolutionary leap in operating systems. Longhorn promised a dazzling new user interface, a groundbreaking file system, and advanced security features that would set a new standard for personal computing. It was ambitious, bold, and as it turned out, deeply flawed. At the heart of Longhorn's troubles was Microsoft's organizational structure. The company's design at the time was a classic example of a rigid, hierarchical system. Teams were siloed, each working on their own piece of the puzzle without a clear, unified vision. The developers working on the file system rarely spoke to the team designing the user interface, and the security team operated in near isolation. This fragmentation was a direct reflection of the company's internal structure, a structure that prioritized control over collaboration. As Conway's law suggests, the communication pathways within an organization are mirrored in the systems it creates. In Longhorn's case, the lack of cross-functional communication led to a fragmented, unstable operating system. Eric Brechner, a former Microsoft development manager, described the chaos in his book Hard Code. Teams were working in isolation, building components that didn't fit together. It was like trying to assemble a jigsaw puzzle with pieces from different boxes. But the problems didn't stop there. Power dynamics played a significant role in Longhorn's downfall. Middle management, tasked with enforcing the status quo, resisted changes that threatened their authority. When engineers raised concerns about the project's scope or technical feasibility, they were often met with resistance from managers who were more focused on protecting their turf than solving problems. This resistance to change is a hallmark of Larman's laws, which highlight how entrenched power structures can stifle innovation and adaptation. In Longhorn's case, the inability to address these power dynamics early on allowed the project to spiral out of control. Craig Mundy, Microsoft's former chief research and strategy officer, later admitted in an interview with Wired, "We had too many people protecting their own interests and not enough people focused on the bigger picture." As the months turned into years, Longhorn became a victim of its own ambition. The project suffered from scope creep, with new features and requirements being added continuously. The codebase grew bloated and unwieldy, built on outdated legacy systems that were poorly documented and difficult to maintain. The lack of a clear, unified vision meant that teams were working at cross purposes, leading to duplicated efforts and conflicting priorities. Mary Jo Foley, a veteran tech journalist and author of Microsoft 2.0, described the chaos in a ZDNet article. Longhorn was a mess. The codebase was a Frankenstein's monster of patches and fixes, and no one seemed to know how to tame it. The result was a product that was far behind schedule and nowhere near ready for release. By 2004, it was clear that Longhorn was in trouble. The project was a mess, and Microsoft faced a difficult decision: continue down the same path and risk releasing a subpar product, or hit the reset button and start over. In a bold move, the company chose the latter. Much of the existing work was scrapped, and the project was rebooted using Windows Server 2003 as the new foundation. This reset led to the eventual release of Windows Vista in 2007, a scaled-down version of the original Longhorn vision. But the damage had already been done. Windows Vista was met with widespread criticism for its performance issues, compatibility problems, and lack of the promised features. Paul Thurrott, a tech analyst and author of Windows Vista Secrets, wrote in his blog, "Vista was a disappointment, not because it was inherently bad, but because it failed to live up to the hype. Longhorn's collapse cast a long shadow over its successor." The Longhorn debacle became a cautionary tale in the tech industry, a stark reminder of how organizational structure and power dynamics can make or break a project. It shows how structure dictates power, shaping who makes decisions and how those decisions are executed. It highlights the resistance to change that often arises in hierarchical organizations where middle management clings to the status quo. And it underscores the importance of organizational adaptability, the ability to pivot and evolve in the face of challenges. Satya Nadella, Microsoft's current CEO, reflected in his book Hit Refresh. Longhorn was a painful lesson, but it taught us the importance of aligning our structure with our strategy. We had to break down the silos and foster a culture of collaboration and innovation. Microsoft's eventual recovery and resurgence under Nadella's leadership demonstrate that even the most entrenched organizations can change if they are willing to confront their structural dysfunctions and embrace a new way of working. The company's shift to a growth mindset and its embrace of cloud computing with Azure are testaments to the lessons learned from Longhorn. Ben Thompson of Stratechery noted in a 2019 article, Microsoft's transformation under Nadella is a masterclass in organizational change. They learned from their mistakes and rebuilt themselves into a company that thrives on collaboration and innovation. The story of Longhorn is a powerful illustration of the themes at the heart of organizational change. It shows how structure is not just a framework. It is the foundation of everything an organization does. To build a company that can innovate, adapt, and thrive in a rapidly changing world, leaders must first examine and reshape the structures that define how work gets done. Only then can they unlock the full potential of their teams and organizations. John Cutler wrote in a Medium article, Longhorn's failure wasn't just about technology. It was about people, power, and process. It's a reminder that the hardest part of building great products is building great organizations.